This is Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are in Sacramento today, and we are joined by Ben Allen. He is a member of the California State Senate. Sir, we live near each other, and I live just behind the West Side Pavilion on the west side of Los Angeles, and the Expo line is about to open. And I literally took a picture with my daughter on our bikes. We kind of snuck in to where the Expo line is going to go, and I tweeted, "I cannot wait. I am so excited for public transportation to be coming through the city of Los Angeles." I know you are too.
I sure am. I've been waiting for it since I was a little kid.
And so let's talk about the conversation surrounding public transportation, because as you know, we're in a special session.
Sure.
And the special session seems to be most focused on road repairs.
Right.
But you're looking to broaden the conversation. Tell me about that.
Yeah, look, the governor has called for two special sessions, one in medical care financing in particular, and then the other one having to do with transportation infrastructure, particularly focused on road repairs. A couple of members of the legislature, Assemblymember Richard Bloom and Assemblymember Chu and several others, we've gotten together to talk about trying to get more aggressive on the question of transit and public transportation. Assemblymember Nazarian was part of that effort as well.
But you seem to be most vocal. I mean, and this is not a negative. I'm just noticing you're being quoted a lot on this question about expanding the scope of the special session.
Something I talked a lot about during my campaign. I've traveled extensively in other parts of the country and some other parts of the world. It has always struck me that Los Angeles is so far behind. And if we really want to be a world-class city that moves people around, that works in a functional way, that allows people to be able to get to work and not have to be in soul-sucking traffic for their entire life, we have to have a better transportation infrastructure, public transportation infrastructure for people.
We know that Los Angeles is the 800-pound gorilla, and the rest of the state feels as if Los Angeles already sucks too much money away from the state. How do you work through your colleagues to say that expanding the scope of the special session in ways that may benefit Los Angeles more than other areas is worth it?
No, actually, the thing is, we have a proposal that seeks to both increase the funding for public transit, both under a new revenue mechanism, but also another one under making sure that we give a better portion of the cap and trade funds to public transit. And that is then distributed around the state in a fair, even formula that goes to everybody.
But let's talk about the formula, because that's where it gets a little crazy. You know, what exactly is the method to raise funds for more road repairs or whatever you want to do on our public highways? There's a potential of increasing the gas tax. There's a potential of increasing the diesel tax. You've keyed in on that. Maybe use the diesel tax as a way to fund public transportation. There's mileage fees. There's tolls. I mean, there are so many different ways you can look at this question. And then you have your Republican friends who need to weigh in. In order to get the
this will require a two-thirds vote.
And so what seems to be getting the most traction in your mind?
I think that people on both sides of the aisle understand that we've got an infrastructural crisis on our hands, that if California really wants to move forward in a vibrant, robust way, we've got to do something to improve our transportation infrastructure, both from our roads right the way over to our rail and public transit options. And I think people are starting to understand that. We're hearing people from the business community coming to us all the time complaining about our transportation infrastructure. And you know that the average Angelino not only is stuck in 60 hours of stop-and-go traffic every year. I'm not talking about in traffic in general. I'm talking stop-and-go traffic, stuck 60 hours a year. The average Angelino also spends double the average American in car repair because of our lousy road quality. So people know this is a problem. It's starting to impact our economy, and we're crafting a solution, and it's very complicated, and we don't know what's going to happen ultimately. It's going to have to involve Republicans because it requires a two-thirds vote.
Will it happen, though? I mean, the Republicans have been issuing releases suggesting they're not in favor of tax increases. But that term can be...
But if you listen to the Republicans on the committee during the hearings, a couple of them have been very couched in their criticism. I mean, they raise concerns. They want to make sure that there's high levels of accountability. They want to make sure that there's a fairness in distribution of the funds. But ultimately, I think there are a number of Republicans who may very well find a way to support something like this because they understand that our economy is clamoring for it.
Is your sense, though, that the revenue enhancements will be blended, meaning it will be some increase in the gas tax, some increase in the diesel tax, maybe some increase in the VLF, which caused a prior governor to lose his job, some increase in the EV fee, or at least a fee on electric vehicles since they don't pay a gas tax?
All those things are on the table. really don't know what the final mix will emerge as. And I wish I had more information. It is a fluid and dynamic negotiation
Can
right
we
now.
talk, though, about the mileage fee question? Because
Sure.
that, I think, is a very unique proposition in that somehow the government, whatever that means, would have a sense as to how far you're driving, how many miles you're driving, and you would be charged based upon mileage. That's a completely different model. I mean, there's a few pilot programs bouncing around throughout the country. It's used in Europe in some places. Is that a bridge that the legislature can cross?
You know, potentially. There are some people who criticize it, but I think that is part of Senator Bell's road repair proposal. And I think he's thinking about it as a fairer way of making sure that those people who use the roads the most are paying for that road use.
But what about the concern, and there's dual concerns. There's the privacy issue, which probably can be addressed in an appropriate way.
Right.
But look, you know, we live in the same community. If you work in Santa Monica, to live in Santa Monica, I don't live there, but to live in Santa Monica is incredibly expensive. So you have folks driving in from Ventura down to Santa Monica, driving in from Reseda. And so they're on the roads longer than someone who may live in a...
This is precisely why we need to get more investment into public transportation so people can actually then, you know, if we have a better, more integrated, truly holistic system where people can drive or you know, take a bus or something, or do an Uber or Lyft or taxi to a local train station, then take the train along a route that most people are having to drive along, you know, whether it be the 405 or the 10 or something else, and get to their own work center, and then have a way to get to their work center from those train stations. This would resolve the problem and get people off the roads who are currently congesting them unnecessarily.
Any of your friends on the Republican side looking at expanding the conversation to include public transportation?
Yeah, I think as I say, they want to make sure they're asking questions about accountability. They're asking questions about the distribution of the funds.
Sure.
I think that it may very well be that the transit portion of this conversation gets extended out beyond the specials, beyond this next couple months. But I think everybody's starting to understand that public transit has to be part of this conversation.
How does high-speed rail play into the calculation,
well,
if at all?
It doesn't in this particular conversation. However, if high-speed rail ever has a prayer of being successful as a way of making people move around, we've got to have a way to get people from those train stations to and from their homes and to and from their work locations. So, you know, Fresno. If you take a train into Fresno and all of a sudden there's no real, you know, there's not a good option to get people in and out of the train station, that's going to be a problem. It's not going to work as effectively. Getting people to and from Union Station from all over the city. There's only so much investment you can put into the roads and to the taxis or Uber or Lyft to get people in and out of Union Station, for example.
Because some of the folks on the Republican side are saying, well, why don't we take the cap and trade funds that are dedicated to high-speed rail through legislation passed in the last cycle and use that for road repairs?
That's just a non-starter with the governor. The governor has made it very clear that that he's incredibly supportive of high-speed rail and does not want to see that portion of cap and trade touched.
And given that the governor was the one who called the special session on this question, do you have a sense of where he is on it?
Oh, I think he wouldn't have called it if he didn't want to see some action. If he didn't, I think if he wasn't genuinely supportive of the concepts that we're discussing, there's no way that he would have called for it in the first place.
Do we need to go to the voters on any of these questions, or can we keep this in the legislature?
If we get a 2/3 vote, we potentially don't have to go to the voters. Now, of course, every legislator then has to go to the voters themselves and justify their decisions.
But in terms of an initiative?
Potentially, no. It would obviously depend on how it is worded, but I would think that that they would craft us, you know, some sort of. These kinds of measures do not require a vote of the voters because it's 2/3 of the legislature. That's a very high bar.
Of course.
And it's going to have to require some Republican support.
He is Ben Allen. He is a member of the California State Senate representing significant portions of Los Angeles County. My name is Brad Pomerance. This is Local Edition.